If you're moving from government, higher education, the military, or nonprofit work into the private sector and an offer just landed in your inbox, congratulations. But before you say yes, I want to slow this down with you for just a few minutes. Here's the thing. A private sector offer can look bigger on the salary line and still be a worse overall deal than what you're leaving. That's not because private sector jobs are bad. It's because the shape of your compensation and benefits changes in ways that are easy to miss if you're only comparing one number. Welcome back to HR by Nnamtique and the public to private career pivot corner. I'm Cynthia. Today we're talking or walking through how to actually evaluate a private sector offer, piece by piece. So, what actually changes when you leave the public sector? Well, here's the challenge I see most often. Public sector professionals compare the new salary number to their old salary number and stop there. But salary is just one piece of the puzzle. Benefits, workload, job stability, and workplace culture often shift too. Sometimes in your favor, and then sometimes not. Public sector jobs often come with things that are easy to take for granted until they're gone. A pension or a strong retirement match, predictable hours, generous, accurate accrued leave, and a level of job security that's genuinely rare in the private sector. You see, private sector jobs often offer higher pay, faster advancement, and more variety, but usually trade away some of that stability and structure to get there. Neither side is automatically better, but you can't make a good decision if you're only looking at half of the picture, you see? So there are 6 things to check adjusted for your pivot. Here are the 6 things to check on any offer with the specific public to private angle on each. Number one is pay and total compensation. Look past the base number. Is there a bonus that's guaranteed or just possible? Is there equity? Or if so, how real is it? Most importantly, what's the retirement match and how does it compare to the pension you may be leaving behind? Then, number two are your benefits, your health coverage, how much comes out of your paycheck for it. All of this is often higher in the private sector than what you're used to. Also, check paid time off. Many public sector roles offer more accrued leave than private sector starting packages. Number three are your manager and team. Public sector management can be more process driven and consensus based. Private sector managers may expect faster decisions and more individual ownership. And what their working style is actually like, you need to ask. Number four are workload and expectations. Public sector roles often come with clearer boundaries around hours. Private sector roles, especially at smaller companies, may expect more flexibility from you in return for less structure. Get a real sense of what a typical week looks like. Then, number five are your growth and the stability of the opportunity. This is a big one. Public sector jobs generally offer more job security. Private sector jobs can offer faster growth, but also more risk, like layoffs, restructuring, and shifting priorities. Those happen more often in the private sector. Then, so you need to ask how stable the team and the company have been. Number six are your culture and values. See, public sector work often centers on process and service, while private sector culture may move faster and reward different things. So make sure the day to day pace and the values are ones you actually want to live inside. So, those are the six things that you need to check on your next offer if you're pivoting from the public sector to the private sector. Now, let's consider some red flags versus deal breakers for you public to private offers, your public to private offers. Same framework as any offer evaluation applies specifically here. A red flag is something worth a different question. Maybe the retirement match seems low compared to what you had. So ask about vesting schedules and any other retirement benefits before assuming that it's a deal breaker. Maybe the PTO or paid time off policy wasn't clearly explained. So ask how it accrues and whether it's use it or lose it. Now, a deal breaker is something no explanation will fix. If there's no retirement plan at all and that genuinely matters to your financial plan, that's the stop sign, not a question. If the schedule is truly incompatible with something non negotiable in your life, no amount of we're flexible talk changes that. So, believe it or not, the mistake I see most is public sector professionals feeling so relieved to get a private sector offer that they treat real deal breakers like red flags, asking a polite question, getting a vague reassurance, and moving forward anyway. Know which category you're dealing with before you ask. Are you asking about one of your red flag items, or are you asking about a deal breaker item as far as you and your family's needs are concerned? So let's look at some real examples across four different fields of expertise. We're going to look at this play out right now. So let's think about it. A remote role with unclear travel expectations, and the offer says remote friendly, but during the process, travel comes up more than once. Vaguely. So you ask directly, how often would this realistically require travel? And is that written into the offer? For someone used to a fixed public sector work location, this is worth nailing down before you accept. Or think about a management role with higher turnover. If the last few people in the position didn't stay long, you should ask about it directly. Public sector environments often have longer average tenure, and so a fast turnover private sector team can be a real culture shock if you don't ask ahead of time. Then, number three is a startup role with equity but weak benefits. Let's imagine equity can be exciting, but it isn't guaranteed money. And it's a very different trade off than a pension. So ask for real numbers on outcomes for past employees, not just the pitch. Then, last but not least, is a healthcare role with shift expectations hidden in the details. If scheduled, if the schedule is discussed in your interview and it doesn't match what was written in the offer, close that gap before you sign, especially if you're coming from a role with fixed, predictable hours. You see, none of these examples are unique to one industry or role. The pattern is the same everywhere. Find the vague spot, ask the direct question, and actually listen to the answer. And be prepared to make a difficult decision if the answer that you receive is a deal breaker for you. So, let's talk about the evaluation scorecard because this is how to make this concrete. Score the offer from 1 to 5 in each of the 6 areas: pay, benefits, manager, workload, growth/stability, and culture. For this pivot specifically, add one more line under compensation, and that's retirement trade off. Compare the new retirement match in real terms to what you're leaving behind. That single line often reveals more about the true value of an offer than the base salary difference does. So, watch for any single category that scores low, even if the overall picture looks strong. A great salary can quietly hide a weak retirement match or a shaky team, and that's exactly the kind of thing that this scorecard is built to catch. So, let me share with you some questions that you need to ask before you accept. So, a few ways to ask about your yellow flags without sounding confrontational are: can you walk me through the retirement plan and how the match for vesting works? Or, what does a typical week look like in this role, day to day? And I know it's often difficult for most of us to describe a typical day at work because for a lot of us, no 2 days look exactly alike. But still, you ask the question and see what type of answer you receive. How has the team changed over the past year or two? And you can receive all kinds of information with a true answer to that question about the turnover, um, and any additions to the team, or maybe even any challenges that the team has encountered over the past several months. And one more question that you can ask is the PTO policy accrual based? And is any of it use it or lose it? So remember that any reasonable employer expects these questions, or they should expect these questions, especially from someone making a career sector change, like going from a public sector career to a private sector career. If a direct, respectful question makes someone visibly uncomfortable, that reaction tells you something too. And so, some common questions that I get from my clients many times are: what if the salary is genuinely higher? Does that make up for a weaker pension? Now, for some people, that answer may be yes. So that's why you need to run the real numbers, what you need to personally contribute to match your old retirement benefit, and whether the raise actually covers that gap. Often it's closer than it first appears in either direction. Then some people are concerned about job security. And so they may ask me, what if I'm worried about job security in the private sector? And that's a fair concern. So ask about the company's history with layoffs or restructuring, although there are no guarantees that can be made. But look at how long people generally stay with that company. No job is perfectly secure, but you can still get a real read on the risk level. Then someone else, another student or client may ask, what if I can't get clear answers? Well, that's useful information on its own. How an employer handles direct questions during the offer stage often previews how they'll communicate once you're actually there. So keep that in mind. Remember that leaving the public sector is a big move, and your offer deserves a clear eyed look, not just relief that someone said yes. So, grab the Offer Evaluation Scorecard and use the HRBN offer, salary, and onboarding strategist for hands on support working through the process. And if your bigger goal is a full public to private career move, explore Career Search RX or public to private career transitions, the program for deeper coaching support. Now, before you go, tell me in the comments what's the hardest part of your comparing a private sector offer to what you had before? The retirement piece, the job security, or the cultural shift? Your public to private or public sector experience got you this offer. Now give the offer itself the same careful evaluation you'd give any major decision. So before you leave, remember that my goal is to help you to become a more confident, self-assured, prepared job candidate. And so I need you to not only give this video a like if you found this information to be useful, but also to share it with your network with others who are on that career success or career search success journey. And also, when you feel comfortable, if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel. I'd love to have you as a member of the um, Nnamtique fold. And just know that that is my goal, to provide you with value every time I release content. And because I release content on a regular basis, once you subscribe, also click that notification bell so you can be amongst the first to know when I do drop new content. So until the next video, career success to you. You go get your new job. Bye bye.